Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Terry Martin with the Illinois Channel, and once again, I'm joined with Jeff Berkowitz from Chicago. And Jeff and I are going to be taking a look at some of the breaking news that continues to happen as we go from President Biden to President Trump. And Jeff, what a press conference Donald Trump just held in Mar-a-Lago. It was notable for just a number of reasons. One is the distinct difference between President Trump and Joe Biden. Trump sat there without notes, once again talking for over an hour, taking questions on a host of issues and making a lot of news. And we're going to be bringing some of that to the people's attention with some sound bites. But what was your impression as you listened to what President Trump was saying?
Well, you can skip the inauguration, Terry. January 7, 2025 is the first day of the Donald Trump second term as president. He took control today. He spoke boldly of where the United States is going, with confidence, with assurity, sketching out what Biden was trying to do to block reforms that Trump is trying to introduce. But Trump is ready. This is the difference between 2016 and 2017 and 2025. He is ready. He knows what he wants to do, and he's going to do it. Screw you, Joe Biden. That's the
And I think Joe Biden's attitude is screw you, Donald Trump. I'm going to do what I'm going to do because I'm still the president. And so we have a number of things that Biden is doing. I want to slip in a couple of things I don't have a soundbite on. But one, President Trump introduced a man, Hassan. I didn't get any other name on him or what exact country he's from the Middle East, who said he was going to be waiting for Trump to come back. He's going to be investing $20 billion into America, and he may invest more. So that was one right off the top. The second was, and I believe you know this individual who's negotiating the release of the hostages, and he said, this man, that they're making progress. He wasn't guaranteeing anything soon, but he did sound encouraging.
Steve Witkoff is the special envoy to the Middle East, at least the nominee to be special envoy to the Middle East. He's a close friend of Donald Trump. He's a big real estate investor. And as Trump emphasized in the press conference, he knows how to negotiate. He knows how to speak. He said, unlike our prior negotiators. And if they don't return the hostages by January 20, Trump reiterated, there'll be hell to pay. And Witkoff reiterated, President Trump has made clear he is right behind them. And he says Trump delegates better than anybody else. So Witkoff has Witkoff has the authority to negotiate the release of the hostages. And essentially he's saying you can bet on it by January 20. We'll see.
Well, we can only hope. Let me play one of the first of several sound bites that we're going to have here, what President Trump was saying. And one of the things he started off by saying is, here Joe Biden says he's looking forward to a smooth transition, and then every other day he brings out some policy that is antithetical to what Donald Trump wants to do. Yesterday, as we taped this on January 7, President Biden announced that he was going to stop oil drilling off the coast of America. No more offshore oil drilling, when that is exactly the opposite program of what incoming President Trump wants. So let's listen to Trump talk about that.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. President Biden's actions yesterday on offshore drilling, banning offshore drilling, will not stand. I will reverse it immediately. It'll be done immediately. And we will drill, baby, drill.
And first I want to point out I made a mistake on the graphic that was today. It said 2024. I made the common slip up when you switch years. But Jeff, what were your thoughts on him talking about what Biden is doing with this oil drilling ban.
Well, this is Donald Trump's main domestic issue, oil and gas, expansion of oil and gas. Biden erroneously claims, oh, we've already been doing it. Well, screw that. He has not. And he's now trying to block offshore drilling, 60, what is it? 625 million acres. That's a lot of land, a lot of water, and mainly a lot of oil and gas blocked from the market. If the U.S. is going to be independent, energy independent, these are the kinds of things Trump has to do from the get-go. Biden is old hat. Get off the effing stage, Joe Biden. Yes, it's June. Yes, it's January 7. You're still president, but stop mucking up the works. You've done enough wrong for the last 4 years. That's essentially what Donald Trump is saying. He's saying interest rates are too high, inflation is too high, and now Biden is blocking my reforms. It ain't going to happen. Biden's trying to do this by executive order. Trump's saying we'll stop it. We'll do it by executive order. If necessary, we'll rely on the Republican majorities in the House and the U.S. Senate.
Yeah, there's a
Trump is saying, we're going to get this done.
There's a Congressional Review Act. And so if Trump runs into any legal problems that he can't get this undone with an executive order, which would be the quickest way, because that's what Biden is doing. But if that doesn't, for some reason, go through, the Republicans can overturn that with a congressional review order and then have that passed by the House and Senate, and then what Biden is doing. Interestingly, too, what Trump said, everyone who pays any attention to the national government knows we're running up massive deficits. And the national debt is now in the neighborhood of $37 trillion. Trump noted that the amount of oil that we are bringing in from offshore oil drilling by itself, in addition, he wants to drill up in Anwar, on the north slope of Alaska, that this oil is one of the key ways that he wants to use to pay down the national debt, in addition to his DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, where they want to be cutting down on spending. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it really just seems as if Biden is purposely trying to stick his finger in the eye of President-elect Trump as he comes in and trying to go out of his way, frankly, to just muck up the transition.
It's drill, baby, drill. This is what's been missing for the last 4 years. Biden has been lying. The mainstream media should check him when he says, "Oh yes, we're putting out the leases, we're putting out the permits." BS. It ain't happening. Okay, and the market's saying it ain't happening. Trump is saying you're not going to do it any longer. If you do this by executive order, congressional legislation trumps executive order.
Yeah.
Well, we will block you, Joe Biden.
Jeff, what does MAGA stand for?
Make America great again.
Make America great again. And Trump, I mean, some of this is almost comical, and he's noted for having a great sense of humor, Trump is. But although he's saying this seriously, he really said some very audacious things. Let's listen to one that is maybe the least important, but it's just interesting, and it shows the character of the man.
Going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name.
Huh?
So there you go. We're going to get the Gulf of Mexico and turn it into the Gulf of America. I don't know where that came. I didn't see that one coming, but we'll have to see how that goes. What he did talk about also, that I don't have a bite on, but is important. He was talking about the Panama Canal and noting how the Americans built this. This was a national debate that went back on, goes back to actually even before Jimmy Carter came into office in the late 70s. I remember William F. Buckley debating Ronald Reagan when Reagan was just a private citizen, and they were debating about should we give up the Panama Canal. The problem now, according to President Trump, but not just him. I mean, I've seen this in other sources. The Chinese are coming in and doing things to to try to take control. So Trump is, I think, strategically looking. He even said, we built the Panama Canal for the Navy so we could move our ships from one side of the country to the other without having to go all the way down around South America. But anyway, that interesting idea to call it the Gulf of America, but also, one thing he said in the questioning, which was also key, someone asked, would you say you're not going to use military force as far as the Panama Canal? And Trump goes, no, I'm not going to commit to that. Who knows what would be necessary? So,
well, yeah, he's not going to disclose
in this press conference.
He's not going to disclose military strategy. The things that he's made it clear he cares about the Panama Canal. He's made it clear, unlike much of the mainstream media, 29-year-old Caitlin Collins, he knows the Monroe Doctrine. Caitlin, look it up, okay? The Monroe Doctrine is not dead. It means that the United States cares about South America, about Latin America, about North America, about this hemisphere. That's the fucking Monroe Doctrine.
We used to, Monroe, of course, the fourth president, if I remember, maybe the fifth. But he was thinking, President Monroe, you European countries stay out of our hemisphere. We're going to be controlling our own house. Now the threat is coming from China, but it still applies as far as the Monroe Doctrine.
Right. He's basically saying to President Xi, look up the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962, okay? Look at how the United States stood. Look at what Adlai Stevenson did, what he said. And screw you, China. We're not putting up with this crap. Get the hell out of the Panama Canal. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically the statement Donald Trump was making today, January 7th.
Bold leadership. I mean, and this is what Trump also talked about, the weak leadership that we've had for 4 years from the Biden administration, and even said all they do is talk. They talk, but they don't get a leadership. And so we see here President Trump, president-elect technically. He's, of course, been president before, but he's got a negotiator, as we already mentioned, on the hostages. He's already getting $20 billion committed for new economic development in the country. He says he's going to take on these last-minute executive orders by Joe Biden. The White House is saying, well, we're going to have a busy 2 weeks. I would hope we're not going to get another 2 weeks of Joe Biden dropping monkey wrenches into the gears of the incoming Trump administration and the policies that the American people voted for.
Look, the world has noticed already the United States is back. They noticed it when Trump went to Notre Dame in France. They noticed it now. They noticed he's back. Where the hell has the United States been under Joe Biden? 4 years of a guy hiding in his basement, hiding somewhere else? 4 years of protection by the American mainstream media, protecting this guy? No press conferences, no statements, nothing? And who's been running the United States for 4 years? It sure as hell hasn't been Joe Biden, and they sure as hell don't. The United States does not need Joe Biden to try to run things in the last 2 weeks and let everybody know that everybody's wrong. Joe Biden is really strong. Really? 4 years of this crap? It ain't happening. Trump's not going to let it happen.
Yeah, also I wanted to note that this week, we're doing the show a little early this week for a couple of reasons. Some of it are our own schedules. But there was a lot of news already. This is Tuesday as we're recording this. But we had just on yesterday, the 6th, we had the House of Representatives certify Donald Trump as the officially the president-elect when they counted the Electoral College votes and certified those in the House. So I think Trump was holding off from having any press conferences, not knowing, first of all, if House Speaker Mike Johnson would get reelected, and he only did, again, talking about Trump leadership, because Trump called up two Republican House members who were voting for someone else, and that meant that Johnson would not have the votes to become reelected as House Speaker on the first ballot. That also would have held up the certification of Trump as president-elect. Trump called up those two. They changed their vote. Johnson's reelected Speaker by one vote, thanks to President Trump's calling those members up. Today, or yesterday rather, he certified president-elect, and so today he had this press conference. Again, I said this before, but what a difference after 4 years where Joe Biden, with this feeble voice, his staff, Biden's staff, would pick out what reporters he should call on. They had to submit their questions ahead of time so that Biden could read from notes of what his answer was going to be. The Biden White House has been the presidency by committee. And we don't even know all the people that were pulling the strings. Joe Biden was a figurehead. What we see on display in this press conference today with Donald Trump is that he is no figurehead. He was calling the shots. He had full command of the room. And it's just going to be a different 4 years going forward, folks. So note that.
Look, Mike Johnson has done an excellent job as Speaker. Many people referred to him as the accidental Speaker. Whatever he was in terms of how he got there, he's done a good job. It's been really tough handling this group in the House. He's got a margin of he has a margin of 220 seats to 215. So people call that a 5-vote margin. But one is gone already. I mean, because Matt Gaetz is there since 219. That's 4 votes. That means you could only lose actually on that vote to keep the Speaker there.
Let me ask, because I missed it. Is Gaetz a member of the House as of this time? Because he had earlier resigned, but he had been elected in November.
Yeah, I guess he has to resign again. I mean, at that time he was not, because he had resigned. So you had gone down to 219.
So basically, we have a 4-vote majority right now. The Republicans, I should say, have a 4-vote majority.
Right.
Tom Massey of Kentucky did not vote and never switched his vote in favor of Johnson. I don't know what his issue is. But anyway, so initially they lost 3 votes, and that would have been that Johnson would not have been it. Anyway, they got it. But
so the point is,
go ahead.
The point is, you mentioned 2 people that Trump called. That was Keith Self and Ralph Norman,
Right.
2 relatively little-known congressmen. And Trump said, "Look, I'm the president. You're going to do this," and they did. And it's as simple as that.
I'm the president. The American people voted us in. We need to hit the ground running. And I think because Trump, and you alluded to this earlier, but I want to, it's an important point. This is a different Donald Trump going into the White House than it was the first time, when he had never, the first time Donald Trump ever spent the night in Washington, D.C. was when he was the president sleeping in the White House. He had never spent even one night in Washington, D.C. before taking the oath of office. Now he has been president for 4 years. In that first term, he's gone through all kinds of things. He knows his staff that he's bringing in, the people that he has around him. These are loyalists. He had a number of people in that first term who were not loyalists. And, one of them was Christopher Wray, who he appointed, Trump fired Comey 6 months after he took office, and he put Christopher Wray in, who I believe was suggested to him by the former Republican governor of New Jersey, whose name I'm dropping at the moment, but Chris.
Well, the important thing, and you hit on it, is Trump learned a lot by the mistakes when he was elected in 2016, nominated, and a lot of people got the head of agencies. Worst of all, Chris Wray, who never should have been there, who's an ex-Bush guy who really hadn't done much himself in terms of experience with the FBI, and basically screwed Donald Trump. And so the first thing he did now was get rid of Wray. He's gone. He's sitting there. I don't know. He was on vacation during the New Orleans terrorism, not reachable. They set forth somebody to do a press conference who proclaimed, junior person, "Oh, there's no terrorism here." She had to reverse that. Mm-hmm. This is the FBI.
I never knew where Christopher Wray was coming from. And a lot,
Yeah,
and I
coming
can tell
from
you from
nowhere.
covering the committees, uh, a lot of the members of the Senate and the House of Representatives had really become disgusted with Christopher Wray and all that he did. And Trump talked about how his home was uh, raided by the FBI. Now, of course, I think Biden was behind that. But, where Christopher Wray was just not a loyalist to Trump, and there was no way that Donald Trump was going to keep him in. Now, once you get rid of Wray, Christopher Wray, the current FBI director, who I believe is going to resign on January 20th, the day Trump takes the oath, once you get rid of him, this is a FBI that still needs to have a lot of people pushed out the door. I want to play a clip, and we'll later go back to another soundbite from Trump. But since we're on the issue of the FBI, former FBI agent Nicole Parker appeared on Clay Travis's show, and she was talking about why she left and the amount of political bias that came in to the FBI over the time that she was there in that as an FBI agent.
I just want to believe it's going to get better because, frankly, it really cannot get worse. And let me make this very clear. There are
Quit
two
talking, I need to
FBIs.
hear this.
Okay, FBI 1, I've kind of coined these phrases. FBI 1, these are the honest, hardworking, rank and file agents that are trying to do the right thing for the right reasons and have pure
What percentage
motivation.
of FBI employees do you think are in that group, that hardworking,
Okay.
trying to do the right side?
Right.
How would you
Just
break it
honest
down
people that-
percentage-wise?
Right, people that want nothing to do with the politics, they just want to serve the American people, versus FBI 2, which are people that are woke, politically weaponized. Sometimes they're in leadership roles. Sometimes they're just a rank and file analyst. It's not just people up in D.C. That needs to be made very clear as well. FBI 2 has infiltrated all the field offices at various levels. So it's really kind of more your approach. FBI 1 versus FBI 2, I would say at this point, I would have said in the past, 80-20, FBI 1, 80%, FBI 2, 20%. I'd say now a solid 50-50.
50-50 that she says are woke FBI agents, Jeff.
I mean, Nicole Parker is fantastic. 13 years in the FBI, started in the Obama administration. So you can't say, oh, she's just a Trump loyalist. Started in the Obama administration, 13 years as an FBI agent. And she says when she came in, it was pretty good, 80% good, hardworking people, not biased, not opinionated, and then 20% people who were not helpful or actually bad FBI agents. She says now, leaving a year or so ago, it was 80%, it was 50% good, 50% bad. You got to shake up that agency. She ought to be very close to Kash Patel when he comes in as director. This is the goal of Donald Trump, to remake these agencies, to make them honest. It's not to make them loyal to him, make them loyal to the United States. Same thing with DOJ.
Right.
Department
I mean,
of Justice and FBI have to be cleaned up. And for DOJ, it's the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, who's going to work with Kash Patel on the FBI side to get law
Yeah,
enforcement.
we've had
and
a
the
lot
law
of
going
political
right.
corruption, as you say, and so Trump has so much on his plate to clean up. Not only does Trump want to be doing his own agenda, and which he ran on, and which the American people gave him an overwhelming majority in the election, but he has to clean up these things that Biden has screwed up, the FBI being one of those, being as well as as you say, the Department of Justice with all this lawfare. Trump himself, of course, was the target of using the Department of Justice and our courts as a political weapon against a political opponent. And Biden did that against Trump.
This is the National Security Team. National Security Advisor nominee Mike Waltz, tremendous background, Green Beret, a Ranger, military, 4 Bronze Stars, advisor to Gates and Donald Rumsfeld. It really knows a great deal. He should sail right through, and he should be right there at the NSA, and hopefully he can bring along John Ratcliffe to reorganize Intel. John Ratcliffe has nominated CIA director. Hopefully Tulsi Gabbard can make it through if she deserves it. I want to see what they can say, because she does have limited Intel experience. So let's see how she performs when she's grilled, but you do have to shake up the intel. These are the 51 former intel officers who said the laptop
Hunter Biden's laptop
of
was
Hunter
not
Biden,
real. It was real.
yeah,
They knew
it
it
was
was
Russian
real.
disinformation.
And that's another
These
thing on the
people,
FBI. They knew it was real.
right, and you have that many people, former FBI, former director, intel people, you got a problem. You got a problem at defense. Let's see if Pete Hegseth can go through. He's going to have some tough hearings, but if he can go through and if he can shake up the Department of Defense, well, you can see how the foreign policy team is evolving and then working with what's happening, or what would happen under Trump with the FBI and the DOJ. These are not things to fear. He is not trying to make these agencies loyal to Donald Trump. He's trying to make them
You
loyal
want people
to the
who are
United
loyal to the
States.
Constitution, to the traditional way these departments of government were run. They weren't run as offshoots of the Democratic Party. And he wants to get the politics out of these agencies. By the way, I want to squeeze in this 46-second soundbite of President Trump talking about Canada. Canada, our neighbor to the north, talk about Trump being bold. And, you know, people thought, well, are you joking about having Canada become a state? He was asked and spoke about this a bit, and this also ties in to his looking to cut costs. But I would also say, from my standpoint, I think what we're seeing here is the audacity of a great negotiator, and Trump is sending a signal. Let's listen to the bite and go from there.
Why are we supporting a country 200 billion plus a year? Our military is at their disposal. All of these other things, they should be a state. That's why I told Trudeau when he came down, I said, what would happen if we didn't do it? He said Canada would dissolve. Canada wouldn't be able to function if we didn't take their 20% of our car market. You know, they send us hundreds of thousands of cars. They make a lot of money with that. They send us a lot of other things that we don't need. We don't need their cars. We don't need the other products. We don't need their milk. We got a lot of milk. We got a lot of everything. And we don't need any of it. So I said to him, well, why are we doing it? He said, I don't really know. He was unable to answer the question.
So what I would say is that Canada does have an enormous amount of natural resources that the United States could benefit from: oil, timber, hydroelectricity, and we are going to need to virtually double our electric production. And even the Greens should be for using Canada's hydroelectricity, because that's not using coal or natural gas. But as Trump also says elsewhere in the press conference, natural gas is a clean burning coal, and he is going to be very much a friend of using fossil fuels. But Jeff, what do you take on this approach to Canada and saying, you know, maybe you should just join with the United States?
Well, it's an interesting idea. It's basically, he's not talking full union, full integration. He's talking economic integration. We'll come back to that. I just want to remind people to keep their eye on the ball. As Trump comes in, he's got to focus on energy deregulation. He's got to expand oil and gas. He's got to seal the border. Little discussion bias in this program, but he did talk about that in the press conference. So he's got to deal with immigration. She's got to deal with deporting these dangerous criminals who are here. That's the first priority. Criminal illegal immigrants who are here need to be deported. And he's got to get on the tax issue, because if he doesn't, he has to deal with the fact that the tax decrease of 2017 would go back to an increase if he doesn't deal with that. Has to do that by reconciliation. Can he deal with immigration, energy, taxes all in one big bill, or does he have to break it up into two?
I think it's going to be one bill. That's what President Trump said. That's what Mike Johnson said Trump wants. So I think it's going to be one bill. Johnson said they're going to try to pass the budget in February, do one major reconciliation in March, and have it to Trump in April. But he said at the latest it would be before Memorial Day in the end of May.
Under reconciliation, you can do it just with a majority in the House.
Just a majority in the Senate, and a majority in the Senate.
Majority in the House and a majority in the Senate, but he's got to keep all the Republicans.
Jeff, we got to follow up with this
together.
stuff. We're out of time, but we could have done 3 shows with all the news out of Trump's press conference. Thanks, folks. Let us know what you think, and Jeff, we'll see you next time.
So long.